I'm here with Tim Main from PIP Data Rooms and with Dan, who runs a company called Property Search Direct and your website, Property Searches Direct.
That's it.
Tim, you're on piphome.co.uk, piphome.co.uk. So if anybody wants to know more about who we're talking about, anybody who is part of the property sphere, for want of a better expression, knows that the connection that most people who are trying to sell their home or move home have is via their estate agent. They only come across a lawyer probably later, and up until now they felt they have very little power to change things themselves. Now, what a lot of people have been reading about, not a lot of people, to be honest with you, who are home movers, but certainly a lot of estate agents have read about, is about tech changes and about tech making things easier. The problem with tech making things easier is that most people who run estate agents, this is no slur on estate agents, are people like me. Well, actually, frankly, people like us on this call, probably late middle-aged men who've done the same thing, the same way for 20, 30 years. And it's very difficult to get them to change. And that's not a slur on them. That's a human condition. But for the first time in ages, there is an opportunity for home movers or people who are thinking about moving home to actually not take the law into their own hands, but they can equip themselves by using modern tech so that when they do go to their estate agent or a lawyer or a buyer, whoever it is, they've suddenly got a lot of the stuff that would have delayed their sale in the past at hand, immediately, happens straight away. So it's no coincidence that what Dan is doing is providing searches. Now, the problem he has is that he's not Purple Bricks. He can't go out and spend 4 million quid a month on TV ads saying we can do this for you. So clearly marketing to consumers is an expensive and difficult business. But nevertheless, they've now carved themselves a good niche in that market. And what Tim does is produce the wrapper. Because what a lot of people, Dan says, for years have been doing is they've been saying, no, this is a good idea, but where do I put it? I can't put it in a manila envelope at the bottom of a pile like solicitors do. They want it in a wrapper that they can go and send out straight away to their estate agent or their buyer or their solicitor, being prepared. And what Tim's business, PIP, does is to provide that data room, rather like you see in an auction. So same sort of thing as an auction. Now, I'll shut up in a second, but the only other thing I'd say is, how many times do you, as a home mover, turn round and when you ask your solicitor what the day is, oh, we haven't got the searches yet. Well, we know that a lot of solicitors won't even apply for the searches until they've got the money in for them. And a lot of people don't want to pay the money for them because they're not sure what's happening with their solicitor or whatever it is. They don't feel empowered. So buying a search up front, or the various elements of a search up front, is not only now possible, it's cheap. Dan may or may not decide to tell you on this call how much it's actually going to cost, but that's up to him. But the point is they can then arm themselves with those details, and it's all in a neat little wrapper, which is extremely cheap, which Tim adds on top. So guys, talk to me about what you think about what I've just said.
I think, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, we love collaborations like this. Property Searches Direct feels like we've been a little boat in a very large ocean trying to find our way. And like I say, we don't have a massive consumer-led budget. We don't have a huge marketing spend, but fortunately, due to the frustrations of the home buying audience or the home moving audience, people find us, and people dig quite deep in the early days to try and find us. But when they found us to be very helpful, and word has spread and our SEO's got better and we've been more discoverable, and our Trustpilot reviews are there. But yeah, importantly, I mean, what you've just said is, I set out 6.5 years ago to make searches accessible to home movers because the majority of the time they do not get involved with them. They don't see the results of them until it's far too late in the transaction, and they're far too important to delay. An environmental report can come back in 30 minutes. So when you agree to buy something, why not have your environmental report back in 30 minutes? Or as some people do when they're viewing properties, get a flood report and decide whether the risk profile is right.
Give us some idea of what these cost. Dan, give us some idea of what these cost if someone does want to go.
So, I mean, it's not a great deal. I mean, if you look at it as a standalone flood report, which is not the most cost-effective way of buying something, is going to be somewhere around £50 or £60. But if you buy a fully comprehensive environmental report from like a ground shore or landmark, you'll be spending £90 on a really comprehensive ground stability, flood, energy and infrastructure, all these things you need to know about. A full search pack, they do vary. Our standard search pack today, September the 19th, 2025, is £345. In the greater scheme of things, it's not a massive amount of money, but you're going to be spending that anyway. And actually, a lot of our clients turn around to us and say, crikey, it's a lot more cost effective than if I were to go through my conveyancer. the beauty is you're coming to us directly. There's no additional markup. There's no more people feeding from the trough than there needs to be. There's not an estate agent earning from it. There's not a conveyancer earning from it. There's not a panel manager getting involved and taking money. You're buying direct from a supplier that's delivering your searches to you. And we are also here so that if you've got any questions about those reports, you can pick up the phone and ask a human being that's not bogged down with a massive conveyancing pipeline who doesn't really want to hear from anybody like conveyancers do. So we're empowering people to get involved with their searches and beautifully firing the starting gun on the transaction. Client last week said, thanks very much, amazing, got all our reports back, they're on our conveyancer's desk, they haven't even opened a file yet. But the good news is when they do open that file, they got the searches. There's no excuse of, oh, I haven't ordered your searches yet. That excuse is gone. They've just got to get on with the conveyance.
Well, the nice thing, Dan, just to interrupt you there for a second, the nice thing about what we're talking about here is that if they haven't opened it or they do open it and it happens to be wrapped in a PIP data room, the PIP data room will tell you whether they've even bothered to look at it or not.
Yes, and that's a really important thing. We have a number of clients, certainly back with the stamp duty deadline, when more sellers were getting involved and saying, look, how do we help out? How do we speed up our transactions? Can we buy searches for our buyers? Yes, of course you can. They're search code compliant, they're COPSO regulated, the code set out to protect buyer, seller, conveyancer, and lender. It doesn't matter who buys them, they're property specific. So you can buy them, but they were saying, well, where do we put them? And at the time, when we first started, we were like, just keep them in your inbox. And then the likes of PIP Data Room came about, and we said, well, crikey, what a great thing to do. Look, if you want to store them somewhere and you want to control who sees them, here's a wrapper. This is where you store them. This is where you share the information with your buyer. This is where you share it with your agent. This is where you share it with your conveyancer. And then you know when people are engaging with them, and you maintain the control of that environment. And that's really important. And again, buyers, you can start to amass all your paperwork in a data room and keep it in one place so that when you go to sell your property, guess what? It's already somewhere safe, and you can use that for the resale conveyance. So yeah, these wrappers are really important, which is why we want to collaborate with the likes of Tim and the PIP data rooms, so that people have got somewhere to put their stuff in an organized fashion that they can then share with other stakeholders.
The reason I love this idea is because it's B2C. It's empowering the people who finally can be empowered. This couldn't happen a couple of years ago. It wouldn't happen. Now it's possible, and I think that it's important. And Tim, I mean, you've had experience with agents and individuals. What would you add to what Dan said?
Yeah, I mean, we started this whole process because we wanted to help speed the process up for the consumer and the industry. And our focus has been setting it up for the agent, because we see the agent's the person in control of the sale generally. But I think agents are used to doing things a certain way, as you've just said, Ed, and there is a shake-up coming. And so we have now changed our website so that individuals thinking about selling can go and they can open themselves a data room for free still at the moment. So if anyone's thinking of doing it, then from that data room, they can think, oh, I could get a few things ready. These packages, various reports, anything can go in there, and they can get their legal agreements through us and their title through us. They can get their searches from Dan. They can start to build the picture of their house. And I know it's an old analogy, but I've just bought and sold a second-hand car. I checked its logbook out before I started. I checked the paperwork out, then I went and offered. Whereas at the moment, we go and do all the viewings, offer, and then we start to learn about the property. If we learn about it at all, because often, as Dan says, we actually only learn about it 5 minutes before we're due to exchange, which is 12 weeks after we've agreed the sale, and we've got a gun to our heads because we're committed. Sellers can do this and get a lot more trust from their buyers because they've shown this information up front, and buyers are so much more empowered because they know what they're buying. The fall through rates disappear, and there are a few clever ways that people can ask people to make a little commitment. So buyers paying for their searches at the point of sale has shown to reduce the fall throughs significantly, as well as speeding up the process. But I think reducing the fall throughs is more significant. So there's a lot more trust built up through the whole process with the consumer.
I'm here because I think that this is empowering consumers. A lot of people reading this will be consumers, and they do have a chance to do something which is going to empower them. One last question, if I may, for you, Dan. I think this is a great collaboration. It makes perfect sense. You want to buy your searches direct as a buyer or a seller, you can get them. Some people, they always ask me as an estate agent, I've only been doing this for 45 years and I still can't answer this question each time. How long is a search valid for when you buy it?
Really depends on the lender's handbook, and they do vary, but the best rule of thumb is they're 3 months old at the point of exchange and no more than 6 months at the point of completion, and that covers nearly every lender. So yeah, that's the lifespan for them, which is why I think it's really important that if you do push the button on your searches as a buyer, the clock's ticking. There's none of this, oh well, it's going to take 6 months. It's not. I've bought my searches. You've got to bend over backwards and get this transaction through, because I'm not buying my searches again. So the gun has been fired. Get on with it.
Anybody listening to this cannot possibly come away, if they're an individual thinking about what they want to be doing, and they don't have to go to their estate agent and say, what do I do? You can empower yourself and actually help your estate agent, help your solicitor, help your buyer, help your seller, whoever it is. Love the fact that this is B2C. I completely understand why there is a major advantage for having this as a digital briefcase for people to carry around their searches and other stuff in. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks guys for joining me.